Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Crypto Gaming Institute podcast. I'm your host, Ben Gothard, and today we get to speak with the one, the only, Dr. Mark. How you doing today, Doc?
Doing great, Ben. How are you doing today?
I am so excited. I'm doing fantastic, and I can't wait to talk all things crypto gaming with you. I know you're an expert in the space. You have so many cool things going. So yeah, let's just dive right in. I'd love to hear your story.
Okay. Well, background first, I guess. Is that where you want to go?
Please.
Early 1970s, Magnavox Odyssey gaming console, the very first one. That's really where it started. My dad actually invented board games in the 60s, a game called Conestoga, and so I was kind of born into a gaming family. And I loved playing video games with my parents, and they sort of supplied my addiction all the way through high school with every gaming system that came out: Atari 2600, the Vectrex. Not many people know about the Vectrex, but it was a vector gaming system that played asteroids perfectly in 1982 at home. I was always gaming. I was after school. It wasn't the basketball team for me. It wasn't football team. It was going to Games Galore, my local video arcade, and pumping quarters into Star Castle and Robotron and Crazy Climber and all that kind of stuff. So and then I got serious with life, I guess, for a while, and got my PhD in the history of science and technology, became a professor, worked at NASA, wrote about 15 books or so, and have been teaching. I'm a professor of history. I've been teaching for the past 10 years online. And just this past year, I discovered crypto gaming, play to earn gaming. And I've always said I wanted to retire into a game, and I want to retire into a gaming environment. And this is the gaming environment I want to retire into, because it combines the two things that I love: gaming and also finances. And for the first time, I can sit in my office and play a game and not keep asking myself, well, why am I doing this? What's the point of spending so much time playing a game? Well, I can keep track of how much money I'm making on one hand while I'm having fun on the other. So, hey, I'm just enjoying myself.
I love it. So, okay, I want to rewind a second because you mentioned a lot of really cool things, such as getting your PhD and working with NASA. And as a podcaster, shame on me if I pass up the opportunity to hear that story. So please, you kind of go a little bit more in depth of what really inspires you to get your PhD, and what did you really dig into, and then how did that translate into working with NASA?
Sure. I hated history growing up. It just was not for me. But what I loved was the series Cosmos with Carl Sagan, the one in 1980. And that just opened up an amazing world to me. And I was finishing up my undergraduate in psychology. No real plans of doing much beyond that, other than trying to find a career. And I had to take one elective course, and I was working full time. And really, the only thing that was available was a history of science course at night. So I took that, and it was like every night it was a chapter almost of listening to Carl Sagan and talking about the history of Einstein and Newton, Galileo. And I was like, this is absolutely incredible. The history of science. You can study the history of science. You can teach the history of science without having to go into a laboratory and mix chemicals and blow stuff up. So that was for me. And I realized that you could actually get a PhD in this thing. And so that's what I did. It was full speed ahead, and never looked back. It was I've always loved writing, and so getting the PhD, focusing on the dissertation, that was fantastic. So many people hated the dissertation part, but writing was what always attracted me to it. So I got my PhD at Case Western Reserve University. That's in Cleveland, Ohio. You know this? You know the school?
So I can't believe you just said that. My grandparents met at Case Western Reserve
Wow.
at the School of Social Work.
I bet it was Western Reserve then. because it merged with Case in the early 70s. But wow, I didn't know you had any Ohio ties.
Yeah. I mean, I literally wouldn't be here without Case Western Reserve. So
that's great. Well,
yeah.
me, I wouldn't be on your podcast today without them. So we each have a tie. So yeah, I went there. And if you know Glenn Research Center, it's a NASA research center. There's one it's located in Cleveland. And I met a historian who had written the history of Glenn Research Center. And so I approached her and I said, hey, are you doing any more work with NASA? Is there anything that I could help you with? And she said, yeah, I'm actually just got commissioned to write a chapter. You want to write it with me? So I was like, yeah, absolutely. She said, well, I'm going to NASA tomorrow. Do you want to come along? I'm like, you're going to NASA tomorrow? Do I want to come along? Yes. So we went the next day, and there I was walking around NASA in their archives, and that one chapter spun into a book on the Centaur rocket, the Centaur upper stage rocket, which was the rocket that launched all of the interplanetary probes, the Galileo probe, the Voyagers, the Vikings. So we wrote a history of that second stage rocket. And then I finished my PhD while I was doing that, and then stayed on and wrote some other books. Like NASA had a nuclear reactor program in the 1970s. They were going to create and send rockets to Mars. It eventually folded, but we actually had a nuclear reactor that was mothballed in Sandusky, Ohio. And before they shut it down, they wanted a historian to come in and interview all the people that worked with it, write a book about it. And so I spent 2.5, 3 years interviewing 100 NASA scientists about working with nuclear rockets and developing this incredible place. And so from that point, I got some other opportunities. So I went away from NASA for a little bit, and then started teaching full time and writing also. So
that's amazing.
Kind of lots of different timelines of things going on there, but that's the gist of it.
When you were there, and we'll definitely go to crypto gaming soon, but my curiosity is just getting the best of me. Did you hear things that like were super classified and you couldn't share outside of those interviews when you were talking to all those people?
If I did, I couldn't tell you. It's you hear all the conspiracies. We never went to the moon. In fact, the place in Sandusky that has the nuclear reactor, it's this walled off space, and there was so many rumors from the surrounding community, because I would go to community sessions, and they would tell me that there are aliens stored in this Plum Brook region. And as much as I would love to have told them, yeah, there's all these bunkers, and I've actually been in all the bunkers, there just aren't any. it's just but these conspiracy theories grow, and people are concerned about things they don't understand. And so lots of people were convinced that the nuclear reactor there was changing the weather. It was preventing farmers from growing land because it was a weather control facility. And those things they just were not true. We've been to the moon. I'm sorry, it's more fun to say it's a conspiracy theory. We have not been, but we have. But it was just so cool being at NASA and seeing the astronauts can all fly airplanes, and so it's right next to Cleveland Hopkins Airport. So when they have a meeting, they just fly their jet in, and they get off, and they walk around, and it's like it's like watching Tom Cruise from Top Gun, or one of the astronauts from Right Stuff. You can just tell that there's a bit of a swagger about them that historians don't have when we walk around NASA. So, but it was endlessly cool. As far as confidential stuff, I mean, nothing earth-shattering. I wish there was, but only cool science stuff and great stories of human achievement and success and failure too. I mean, that's one of the great things about working at NASA and writing books. There was no editorial control other than scholarly deep work. So, in fact, I talked about the face on Mars, the Cydonia face on Mars, and in one of my books. And there was no, in fact, I did it sort of just to see, would NASA try to edit this out, that I'm even talking about a conspiracy? And there was no problem. As long as I was supporting all my work, documenting it, and it's an anonymous peer review process with other professors. So NASA was very open to letting me work however I wanted to work and tell the stories that I wanted to tell.
I really would expect nothing less from one of the leading, if not the leading science organization in the US and the world. And actually, to me, the cooler thing is not the conspiracy theories that are just based on complete and utter horseshit, but the actual real achievement of us as a species and our scientific progress. I mean, when you have so many people coming together to work on common goals and to move forward with those goals, and if, at the same time fighting people who are fighting progress, to actually move forward and do anything of real significance, to me, is just an amazing, amazing thing. Like that's more exciting to me.
Yeah, it's an essential organization because it's great what the private companies are doing. Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, with all the stuff that they're doing now. But to initially break into a new technological space, it's very difficult for a company to be able to handle that type of risk. And that's what the government can do. I mean, the government can take over a risky project and hopefully not fail. But if they do fail, the government is not going to shut down like a small company would or a large company would if they missed on a multi-billion-dollar program. So, and people ask me all the time, well, what's the point? Yeah, we've sent a dozen people to the moon. What has that gotten us? Well, you can go to the NASA spinoff page, and it's a phenomenal resource to see every year they put together all of the ways that NASA's ideas, NASA's work has spun off into the medical field, into every type of scientific field that has real value for our lives. And so I would encourage any listener who questions NASA, its value to life on Earth, to check out the NASA spinoff page and see the ways that we improve life on Earth. At the same time, we're also explorers. I mean, we're exploring our solar system. That's what humans do. We evolved out of the ocean, and we have been exploring as a species and evolving as a species for millions and billions of years. So we have to continue that because it's in our hearts and souls to explore and understand and push and understand the limits and the bounds of what humans can achieve. And that's NASA's the organization that certainly does that. And I'm very proud of them and proud to see what they do. And it's not a perfect organization, but what human endeavor is perfect. So I think that's the value of history, is to explore the failures, explore the successes, to fully understand and move on. We're not champions for anybody. We're not just trying to tell the best parts about it. We're trying to tell the whole story, and the whole story is what's the exciting part.
I agree. And actually, I think given the amount of resources that have been allocated to NASA, which I believe is like 1/1,000,000th of what it should be, I think there should be way, way, way more investment into NASA and science and exploration and innovation and moving things forward. Be that, but what does my opinion count for here? But given that, it's amazing what we have been able to do, because NASA is a part of the US, and I feel very like, if I feel like it's a we. I haven't stepped foot in it. I was pretty good at science in school, but besides that, like, I haven't really contributed too much, but I still feel like it's a we. So it's very powerful. And in the spirit of exploration and moving forward in progress, is a perfect, very smooth segue into crypto gaming.
Very, very, very great transition. It's almost like you scripted that almost. That's perfect.
So, it seems like you're definitely like in a very innovative and let's move forward space. interestingly enough, looking at history to move forward into the future, that's really a really cool angle. Um, when you saw crypto gaming, being a gamer, being a researcher, a writer, a professor, how did it all click for you? Like when you first saw it until you were like, oh my gosh, like what was that path?
Yes, I mean it's so recent. I mean it's this past 6 months or so. It's been a whirlwind of sort of jumping into this and then just kind of losing my mind with it. And I've been for a couple of years now really getting into early access games and buying the early package to get some perks later on in the game. I spent a couple $1,000s to become a Duke in one of these games, which still has not come out yet. And I thought that was the extent of how you gain sort of this special place in the history of gaming. But then I came across a podcast called On Chain Gaming with Jake, and I started listening to his enthusiasm about play to earn gaming and how this can change the world. And I started then looking at Gala Games, and the more I looked at Gala Games, and then I realized you could buy a node from Gala Games that would contribute to the ecosystem for all the games that they develop, and that there was real money to be earned from that. And then you can purchase the NFTs to go into the games themselves and play and earn more money. It just all sort of clicked, and I was just like, yeah, more. I want to do more. And so I reached out to Jake and I said, hey, let's write a book about this, because it really is no play to earn gaming book because the history is too new right now. So I said, you focus on the present and the future, and I'm going to write about the past and how we got to this point. And so we've been writing for the past 3 months or so, and hope to have a book out next year. If anybody's interested, readyplayerearn.io, and you can find out about the book and sign up, and we'll send you some information about it. So that's kind of how it got started. And buying the node at Gala Games has been one of the greatest decisions I've made in my life. I mean, it's a fantastic community. They are on the cutting edge of the future of gaming, the future of earning, and I've got Townstar playing right now, which is their one game that you can actually really earn real money with, and it's a fun farming simulator game. Miranda's is coming out. We're doing a play test in December, which you're going to be able to start earning money in December with Miranda's. And the list goes on. 2022 is going to be a really exciting year for Gala Games.
I actually think for the entire crypto gaming ecosystem, it's going to
absolutely.
be just an amazing year for us. It's going to be huge.
Right. Yeah. So many things are coming out. So many things are on the verge of coming out. Sandbox, just a lot of fun stuff. You just keep hearing about more and more people who are investing into this system. Snoop Dogg just bought land in the Sandbox. Blanco's Block Party. Deadmau 5 is doing music for it. So all these people are coming to the space, and Mark Zuckerberg with his metaverse, that just adds interest from people who haven't heard about it before, even though they seem to think that he's the first person to come up with the idea of metaverse if they haven't been around the community for a while. But it's just more and more attention is coming to it, and it's exciting. It's a very, very exciting time.
I agree. So I'm interested in understanding your perspective of where we're going with it, because I really believe you can learn and you can anticipate the future a lot by studying the past. And clearly that is a skill set of yours. So what do you see? I mean, we've seen gaming. I mean, it started pretty, video games started, that industry is still nascent. The internet is still a fledgling industry. And now, and crypto is still a fledgling industry. And now we're kind of smashing all of these things together in just an amazingly cool, interesting way. But everything's new. And we haven't really seen those things play out for too long of a period of time comparatively to the grand scheme. So where does this go? Like where does this lead to?
Yeah, I can't give you certainties. So if part of me thinks that this is early October 1929, right before the stock market crash, and all these people that were, buying stocks, getting loans on money to buy stocks for their future, and it crashes and their lives are ruined. Part of me thinks it's the 1990s, and all these startups are going to go bust. But 90% of me thinks that this is the future. So I guess it's the historian in me that has these. Wait, what if we're headed for a big crash here? But I don't think we are. There's just too many things, too many forces at play, and too many things that make this a vital opportunity for the future. And the example that I'll use for that is, this is not just about having fun. It's not just about earning money. It's also about changing people's lives too. Look at Axie Infinity. I purchased an Axie team when I, 3 or 4 months ago, back in, back in the dark ages, 3 or 4 months ago, when I was just getting involved with this. So I purchased my Axie team. I started playing with it. That's really not my kind of game, but I got an Axie scholar, and she's in the Philippines, and she is playing with my Axie characters, earning SLP, and she can earn more money doing that than working in a sweatshop or some place with terrible working conditions. And her and her brother, she's 24 years old, her brother's 21. They live with their parents. They're both Axie scholars, and the three little Axies that I bought are helping to change their lives, putting food on the table, giving them a better life. And that to me is that to me is how this works. This is how this can truly be something special. It's not just about a handful of people becoming crypto billionaires. It's about helping people put food on the table where they didn't have it before. And if you can combine all these things together, play, fun, earning, some people getting rich, but lots of people having a better life, that to me those are ingredients for a future that is sustainable and that will continue to grow and evolve and bring more and more people in. So that's why I'm so enthusiastic about it and want to devote my time to it, my energy, and want to share the history of where we got to this point with other people in the book that we're writing, because it's important.
I think it's incredibly important. I'm very excited for when it gets published.
Yeah.
And maybe we could even do a follow-up where we do another episode and kind of catch up between then and now. That could be really
that'd be
interesting.
Great. Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah. So, looking at where we are in the state of things, you mentioned a crash, and then, you're kind of worried about it, or at least thinking about it. With any industry, with any market, there are boom and bust cycles. I mean, that just happens. So you're not just going to throw $1 in and then tomorrow you're going to be a trillionaire. Like, that just doesn't happen. And in any healthy sort of market, like, there are ebbs and flows. And the reason we see that is because what's behind a market is the people. So the people might be moving from market to market, but the common theme is the people. So the history of markets that we've seen before, like, that's going to repeat for sure. But the underlying technology, the underlying concept, that is here to stay. And of course, you're going to have some people that are like, I'm against this just because I want to spend more time outside, feeling the wind on my face, coming from the sun, and, all that stuff. And that's fine. But there are going to be a significant number of people, like a significant percentage of the world population, who enters the metaverse.
Absolutely.
And the games are going to be the on-ramp for sure in the beginning. But I mean, I see a world where we live a significant portion of our lives in the metaverse, and we go to work, we play, we build relationships, we have community and tribes. How far do you think? Well, first of all, do you see that also? And how far away do you think we are from, like, the mainstream adoption of this?
Well, the pandemic was a trial period. because we were all living in the metaverse last year because we weren't going anywhere. And we realized that we could still maintain our lives, we could still maintain our social contacts, we could still work and not leave the house. And that's ideal for me because I love just sitting in front of my monitors, and these are my windows to the world. So I feel like to me it was a perfect environment because everybody else was doing the same thing as I was. When I first started teaching online, there was the stigma associated with it. Oh, how can you actually form relationships with students when you're not in the same country? That just can't possibly work. Well, now everybody's doing it, and there's not a stigma between online or at school. My daughter goes to Kent State University. She lives on campus, and half of her classes are online. Why is that? There just is no stigma about being online anymore. We all have a smartphone. We all have a window into the metaverse that is never within 3 or 4 feet from us, or we start panicking. So we have all the tools in place, and now we just need the software and the visionaries to create the spaces to go into, and that's what we're getting now, because we already all have the tools to enjoy the metaverse. You don't need a $10,000 computer to do it. You don't need fancy VR headsets. You just need your phone, really, and you can get into whatever space that you want to get into. So I think we're primed. We are ready. We are at that tipping point where, and the separation between simulation and reality is also going to blur in the future as well. Just like the difference between online and on ground learning. What is simulation and what is reality? Those are the types of things that are going to blur in a positive way, I think. A lot of people think that's dystopian, and the early metaverse stories like William Gibson's Neuromancer and Snow Crash were dystopian futures. But I am more of a positive outlook on that, with my simple example of my Axis collar. Yeah, we may not have the sun on our face. You don't see the sun in my cave-like office here, but I could connect with real people and hopefully make a difference in people's lives, and then live in a world where other people can too through the metaverse. And so that's what's exciting, and that's what's sustainable, and that's what's going to prevent this from being any type of crash and burn scenario where this was remember back when everybody was into crypto? Well, no, I mean, that is the future. So
agreed. I'm interested. You mentioned Mark Zuckerberg getting into crypto gaming, and for whatever reasons that he decided to do it at the time he did. Now that has arrived, and they're going at it, and they're going at it hard, and they already have Oculus. They have a big head start on the hardware, the software. They have huge network effects, a monstrous treasury to just throw as much cash as you could imagine at this. I am seeing factions being created within the metaverse in really interesting ways that I did not expect. And it almost seems like there's about to be like this grand metaverse holy war almost between almost like for like control, almost like centralized versus decentralized. Maybe, I'm not exactly sure. The landscape is so crazy and big and expansive and infinite that it's really hard to like understand it all and conceptualize it. But looking back into history and understanding, like, war is a part of humanity. It's an ugly side, but it exists. And control is a big, people are trying to grab control and power and money. And, how do you see that playing out in the metaverse, if at all? And what do you see looking back? Like what should we be expecting moving forward in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, it's the large organizations like Facebook seemingly, or Meta, whatever you want to call them now, seemingly would have a leg up on this. But are they are they too big to really capture the spirit of what's going on now? That I'm not interested in Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse. I don't participate on Facebook. I think that Facebook has done a lot of things that have hurt us as a civilization.
Agreed.
I mean, social media in general is great, but there needs to be some way to prevent some of the seedier elements of what has occurred in Facebook with foreign nations buying control of people's opinions, and that's a whole nother story. So I think a lot of people are going to be reluctant to jump into Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse, whatever that might look like. A lot of other companies are so much further along. And look at Amazon just trying to get into the MMORPG space and how difficult that's been with all the billions of dollars that they have. And yeah, they've had some success there, but I don't know that that's the future of MMORPGs. I think the future is going to be things like Miranda's that's coming up, play to earn mechanics. You know, the new world, Amazon's new world, does not have play to earn mechanics, and people are just going to stay away from that, I believe, in the future. But talking about the past, I mean, every time new technology has emerged, there are competing visions of it. I mean, just go back to the gas-powered engines for cars versus electric cars at the turn of the 20th century. There was a real possibility that electric was going to win out over gas back then. And imagine how different our lives would be if we were not dependent on gas-powered cars and we're trying so hard to get into electric-powered cars now. But what if we had started that from the very beginning? How would our society look today if the oddity was the person driving? Well, he's got to pump gas into that car. You know, that's how strange is that? So I think we're at an opportunity now to really shape this in a positive way. And I don't think shaping it in a positive way is one company controlling the metaverse. You know, I'm opposed to Zuckerberg trying to take over all this. And I think the future is all of these gaming companies developing games that inspire people and have great community interaction. I mean, when I go on Discord and chat with, you know, I'm on, I don't know, 20 different Discord servers. There is nothing like what you see on Facebook in terms of people being vindictive to each other. Oh, sure, yeah, that happens. But why is that? You know, I couldn't go onto Facebook without people that I knew and respected just being vindictive and hateful and spiteful constantly. That's why I left Facebook. But you don't see that on Discord with people talking about gaming. And, you know, I'm not trying to wear rose-colored glasses looking at this and saying how great all this is, but it's people coming together in a positive way. And that's what gaming inspires. And, you know, that's why I think this is, again, sustainable. And at the same time, we have to be careful and make good choices about the direction and where we go, because, you know, this can tip either way. Utopian, dystopian, it's not going to be either. It's going to be somewhere in the center, but which way does it drift? Does it drift more towards the positive or more towards the negative for society? That's up to us. We all have to be intelligent consumers of the metaverse and put our time and money into metaverses that deserve our time and inspire communities to do positive things together.
I love that. Well, Dr. Mark, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show today. I want to be very respectful of your time. So I just have one more question for you, then
sure.
You know, then we'll wrap up. But what question should I be asking you that I just wouldn't think to ask?
What question should you be asking me? Well, I guess the question is, if you're interested in, there's my dog. I don't know if you can hear her. She's protecting the house. But if you're interested in crypto gaming, if you're interested in play to earn gaming, what should you do if you're just jumping into this? Because that's where I was 6 months ago. You know, yeah, I knew a little bit about cryptocurrency. I knew a little bit about, well, nothing about NFTs. You know, 6 months ago, I'd never heard of an NFT, a fungible. What's a fungible token? What's a non-fungible token? So what do you do if you want to get involved with this? Well, join a Discord server. People are super excited to talk about this. If you see me out there, send me a message. I would love to, introduce people to types of games that they want to play. Yeah. So, what I would do is look for a type of game you like to play. Go to the Sandbox, go to Blanco's Block Party, go to Axie Infinity, go to Gala Games, and look at the types of games that they offer. Look at what the future is going to be for those companies. Then join the Discord server. Just go in and ask some questions and find out what the community is all about, what the future is going to be, and then you can slowly find a family. You can find that family of gaming that fits you, and you can start learning, earning, playing, and the future then is yours. So I hope to be able to help on-ramp people to the metaverse, and that's really critical, is to be able to bring people along with us and show people what a cool new world this is.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So for everybody who wants to be one of the first ones to know about the book drop, that is readyplayerearn.io.
That's correct.
Okay, so everybody go ahead there, sign up, buy it immediately when it drops. And actually, I want to do something cool. We didn't talk about this, but in the spirit of collaboration and friendship, and we're all part of this big family together, for the first 5 people who purchase the book, leave a review wherever Dr. Mark suggests to leave a review, and you screenshot that and you send me a DM on Twitter. Just look for the Crypto Gaming Institute. I'll buy that book for you. So
very cool. Very cool.
So do it, read it, review it, screenshot it, send it to me, and it's on the house. So
that's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your support. We really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Well, you're the man. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. Any final parting words for the lovely people?
Final parting words. Look up Gala Games. Check me out, dr2084.io online. Send me a message there if you want. Be glad to talk to anybody about anything related from NASA to NFTs.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Dr. Mark. Everybody who's watching and listening, thank you. Game on. See y'all next episode. Bye.
See you, Ben. Take care.